We're going to talk about the MA in Data Protection and Privacy Law, which is a joint program of the School of Computing and the School of Law and Government in DCU. I'm the chair of the program, and so that means I'm in charge of admissions and coordination. And this is a big job because it's a joint program between two schools across two different faculties. So we have the Faculty of Engineering and Computing and the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences. So it spans the university. And this is actually a unique feature of this degree. When you go internationally, a lot of masters in privacy or in IP law and things like that tend to be within law schools. But this is a genuine coordinated effort between the two branches of technology and law and government. So just a little bit about DCU, some marketing information for you, but just in case you don't know who we are. So we're ranked in the top 2% of universities worldwide. I myself am originally a graduate of DCU. Back when it was only a tiny little campus of about 3,000 people. Now it's up to 17,000. I spent a lot of time in industry, and then in TCD, and now I'm back lecturing in DCU. Part of the basis of our ranking is the fact that we're 19th in the world for graduate employment. We tend to produce a lot of these interdisciplinary industry-focused degrees, and we sort of introduced the whole idea of industrial placement in our intra program to the whole Irish market, ourselves and UL, which is now standard across all the different universities. We're one of the world's leading young universities. That's universities under 50 years old, and we're the #1 ranked of that in Ireland, and also in the top 100 in the world. And we're also very proud of the fact that we're ranked in the top 100 globally for social and economic impact. So we believe in doing research and engaging with communities in ways that are going to make a difference. So we're not a sort of ivory tower university. So why have we created this new master's? Well, all you guys know, I'm sure, about the seismic shift that GDPR has created. This is a thing where Europe is leading the world in data protection and privacy law. And by the introduction of that law in 2018, Europe has created a new era of rights for citizens, responsibilities for data processors, new systems architecture challenges, and opportunities in auditing and regulation. We estimate there's been 1,000 new Irish DPO or data protection officer posts. These are posts that are mandated by the GDPR. It's someone within an organization that has responsibility for data protection in order to advise and instruct the board of the legal entity and also to liaise with the data protection commissioner. And they're not themselves legally responsible for executing data protection. So that's interesting that they have this sort of advisory and its oversight role. So there's a load of challenges, there's a load of posts. IAP says that there's 500,000 posts worldwide because GDPR has created a wave of legislation. We've seen California and many other states in the US, and lots of states across the world have started to embrace this idea that start protecting privacy. And so there's lots of challenges about how are we going to build and maintain GDPR compliant systems, IT systems I'm primarily talking about, and what type of people understand the legal and tech implications of privacy. So, and that's what this master's is designed to target. The GDPR is very wide ranging, and the responsibilities that it puts on a data protection officer are very large. The little graphic up there in the corner created by one of my PhD students talks about the different aspects of the DPO's role. And so you can see that they have to liaise between internal bits of the company and lots of external stakeholders as well. And we need to move to a situation where lots of these interactions are transparently supported by the IT systems that we use. Unfortunately, most IT systems don't work that way. And data management itself and data governance within organizations is relatively immature. And so GDPR puts a lot of new requirements on us for that. Okay. Excuse me. So the MA is available in two flavors, a 12-month full-time or 24-month part-time. And the people from both streams are mixed within the classes. So we get the advantage of the experience of the people generally who are working, some of them coming back. We've got a very interesting age profile in the course. I'll talk a little bit about that later on. And also people coming fresh from graduate and other master's programs who have lots of new knowledge with the latest up-to-date things, and mixing those two groups together. Within the MA, as I say, even though we're trying to mix together the law and the computing, we still recognize that people have different strengths and capabilities. So we have two streams within the degree. The law stream that's primarily for people with law or interdisciplinary degrees with a major law component in their background, and the computing stream where people have computer science or a related discipline. Now, this doesn't say anything about the current role that they operate in an organization. Several people that are in the computing stream are, acting as a DPO, perhaps, or information governance officer for very large numbers of staff. But it's just that their original qualification or previous expertise is in the computing area. So maybe they want to do something that will be more related to that in terms of the courses they take, but also the practical that's involved. And the sort of careers that we're targeting for graduates, CIOs, data protection officers, obviously, and compliance is a big area. Systems architects and data architects increasingly need to know more and more about privacy. And so any sort of IT system that's collecting and processing data about people is probably collecting and processing personal information, and therefore it's going to have to consider these sort of constraints and approaches. So then onto the structure of the degree. As I said, we got two streams, the blue computing stream there and the gold law stream, but on top we've got a common core, the red modules on top. So everyone takes together a European data protection law module, a data governance module that I give myself, which is a computing module, and another computing module on AI and information seeking, which is trying to give everyone a sort of interdisciplinary access to the ideas behind modern information processing and all this stuff that you're hearing about AI and data analytics and how that is changing organizations. So they've got a real feel and insight for that sort of stuff. So that's the core that everyone takes. Then in the computing stream, there's essentially a research methods course. Then what we call a practicum. So this is like a final year project, an extended final year project or dissertation that you might have done as your undergraduate, but it's a more practical oriented exercise. And so generally what we do is we build some sort of system or create some sort of system, and then we test it and evaluate it and experiment on it in order to gather evidence about its effectiveness or efficiency. And we write an academic paper about it. So rather than the focus being on creating a very large report, we have a relatively short report, but it's describing a larger body of work. Then the computing stream gets to pick two different options during the year, either data management statistics and visualization or cloud computing. And then option 2 is either on comparative privacy law or EU human rights law. The reason I've bolded the comparative privacy law is that to date we've recommended everyone take this module because it's been very popular. It's actually given by a professor from Stanford Law School, and they come over and talk about privacy law in the US, and we have a description about how that relates to EU privacy law, but also the implications that we've seen recently about transferring data out of the EU and into the US, which of course lots of corporations have to do. And I took that module myself. And that module is available to both the law stream and the computing stream. Then looking at the gold layer of the law stream, they also have a research methods. Instead of the practicum, they have a law dissertation where they execute a piece of law research. And shared across both streams, there's an ethics element to both of the research methods courses. So that again allows the students to mix together in a way that's not traditional in the university. And then finally, the law stream can pick any 2 options from a list of 4 different law courses. I say most of them to date have done the comparative privacy law, but they can also do further EU law, or there's a special course, contemporary issues in legal practice, which essentially is looking at the implications of Brexit and how the changes that's going to make to organizations in Europe. Okay. So then I just want to talk a little bit more about the differences between the part-time and full-time options. A lot of people tend to be interested when they're talking to me about, well, how many hours of classes am I going to have to do? How often do I have to come into campus? So if we go to the full-time first, that's a 12 months. So you work the full 12 months of the year. So we do 3 semesters in 1 year, as is traditional and taught masters in Ireland. In the first semester, you'll do approximately 3 modules per week. And depending on the exact courses you take, etc., there might be slightly different timetabling, etc. But typically, you just do 1 session with the lecturer each week, either a 2 or 3 hour session per module. And so that's about 7.5 hours. You will start working on your dissertation or practicum as well from the start of the program. Then semester 2 is the same. And then semester 3, the summer, you just do, you focus on the dissertation or practicum. Okay. Now, as I said, the exact hours and modules depend on which stream you're in, which modules you pick, etc. So you can swap things around a little bit, particularly with the optional modules. So the part-time course, all the modules are delivered between 4 and 7 p.m. during the week, between Monday and Thursday, and it'll be on 2 evenings a week when you have 2 modules, or 1 evening if you've only 1 module. So for year 1, you do 2 modules semester 1, 2 modules semester 2. Then in year 3, you probably only have 1 module and you start doing your practicum in parallel. As I say, the exact specifics of that depend a little bit on which options you pick, etc. And also, for example, this year in semester 2, instead of doing 5 hours per week or 2.5 hours per week on a module, people that did the comparative privacy law with the US-based professor, he just came across for a week and we did an intense 1-week course with reading beforehand and assignments afterwards. And that will probably run in the same format again next year. So as I said, one of the things I'm particularly interested in is the computing stream, and a key question that people ask about admission to the computing stream: do I need programming skills? And so the bottom line is yes. But there doesn't have to be a huge amount of programming in your work, because none of the core modules require programming. And they're designed for sort of, even though they're computer science, they're designed for interdisciplinary groups. And they're sort of focusing on socio-technical systems and developing an understanding of the way these systems are applied in practice. There is lots of project work, but no programming in those courses. Where there is programming is when you do your computing optional module in cloud computing, or data management and visualization. And so that would have some lightweight scripting using, for example, Python or something like that, and some familiarity with working with systems will be required. The area where we have a lot of flexibility is in terms of the practicum. The classic practicum would be a programming project where you develop some sort of system. But there are lots of different types of computing practicums that are possible. For example, we can build new data models, we can build new processes, and things like that. And so there are all ways in which we could apply the sort of computing paradigm to data protection. So there's lots. I mean, this is a really fruitful area. If you look, there's very little published really, and so there's lots of opportunity for doing work at the master's level and having it published in academic conferences. Some projects that have been completed or worked on at the moment are looking at things like making a machine readable GDPR legal text so that every term within GDPR is well and uniformly understood, and the relationships of those different terms are understood. Looking at domain models for data privacy. So, you know, machine agents can you know, either tag text or understand how different systems work. Also, looking at, well, if we've got this register of processing activities, it's a mandated legal document every organization must maintain. You know, the typical lawyer thinks of building that as an Excel file. That's not actually, from an IT systems perspective, that's not a sustainable model for developing systems, because this is an active changing thing. And ideally, we'd like to plug that into the existing data management, data governance framework within an organization and automate that. And then once we have a sort of electronic register that's automated, we want to look at, well, can we specify our GDPR policies, show that they're enforced, automatically generate accountability logs to, you know, support audits or dialogues with the data protection commissioner. It's all sorts of stuff there. Another fruitful area for projects, we'll be working with the Science Foundation Ireland's ADAPT Centre, of which I'm a member as well. And it has a very active ethics and privacy working group consisting of academics from all across the country that are working on these sorts of challenges. And so there's the ability to partner with them in projects. DCU has also recently joined and signed a memorandum of understanding with the Future of Privacy Forum, which is a Washington, DC based think tank and research and education and public communication about privacy, and trying to influence policy and make it so that privacy aware applications can be deployed and new laws are brought in ways that still allow commerce to operate. So they're active research partners with DCU that we hope to hook in with some of the projects. So nearly at the end now, just thought I would show you the diversity of the class. So the first year of this course was last year. And so we had lots of different types of backgrounds. We had 8 full-time and 11 part-time attendees. Next year, it looks like we'll have more full-time, and that is kind of the intent of the course, that it would, you know, probably be more than 50% full-time attendees. But we're flexible on that, as we say. The computing stream, we had 4, we had 15 in the law stream. Again, we'd like to get the computing numbers up a little bit, but we have to recognize that for a lot of people, they see this as a way of entering the area of data protection and privacy. And either they're from a legal background, or they're already working as a DPO, or they've taken some courses like the Diploma in Data Protection Law from King's Inns, because it's related to their work. You know, so particularly for part-time people, we see people coming from lots of different backgrounds. As I said, a really cool thing I think about our current class is that we have a massive range in age and experience, in that we have people fresh from just graduated from their law degree straight through college in 2019 to someone who's a data governance manager for 4,500 staff. And so that means that we've got a big mix of experience levels and lots of stories from what's really happening out there in industry and stuff like that going on in the classroom, and challenging the lecturers to a certain extent to respond to them. We also have good diversity of nationalities, of course, in our first intake. And there on the right-hand side, you can see all the different sort of backgrounds that people have in terms of their qualification. And so in addition to the traditional sort of law and computing backgrounds, we have someone who's a Bachelor of Nursing Studies that has gone, you know, much more in the medical informatics area and working in, you know, data privacy and data protection within the healthcare system. And someone with a BA in International Relations who also has graduated over to working in this sort of area. And so that's an important, especially for, I think, for the part-time, but it's not exclusive to that. You know, DCU does consider not only your qualifications, but also what experience you have. You know, if you're already working and you have lots of good work experience that's relevant, you can bring that to bear, and we can consider that when considering your application. So this slide's just showing the sort of diversity of talent that was involved in developing the degree and the different modules. And you can see there is a real, you know, it's 50-50 split basically between law and government and computing. So this is the real deal. I say IAP said, or IAPP said, you know, this is probably unique worldwide, this degree at the moment, to genuinely have such interdisciplinarity going on. In terms of applications, so all applications for the course have to go through PAC, you know, the Irish Postgraduate Applications thing, like the CAO. We've got 2 course codes, one for the full-time and one for the part-time. Click on that link there. Also, if you've, I don't know if some of you have been in contact with me already, but there's a course website that you can go to that has quite a lot of detailed information, has all the module descriptors about all the courses, but it also, I try to maintain a frequently asked questions. So when people are coming along asking questions about the course, I'm including the answers in there. So it's building up to being more and more information. Okay. So obviously I'm Rob Brennan, and there's a course email address that we can use for contact. Okay, so, oh yeah, so that brings me on to deadlines. So unfortunately, the non-EU application deadline has closed for 2020 already. But EU applications are still open for the month of August. I put a little bit may extend there because depending on whether we're full and how things are going, maybe there will be extensions, I don't know. But you can always, if it's coming close, what I'm trying to say is if it's coming close to the deadline and you have some difficulty, please get in contact with us and we'll see, you know, see what we can do for you and also look at the most up-to-date information.